This is a different Evo than we've ever seen before because it's breaking records and not by any small margin. The record before was a little above 5,000 entrants, and that was for Street Fighter V in its launch year of 2016. Flash forward here to 2023, and Street Fighter VI in its launch year has over 7,000 entrants. No one's ever done that. No one's ever come close before. So it's going to be a different look than ever before. And then we have a couple of other games that break 1,000 entrants. It's going to be the biggest Evo that we've ever seen. With that in mind, what's going to be different about it? The first thing that I want to dig into here is the potential for tournament fatigue and how grueling this is going to be for the players that actually go far and make it far in the bracket. Because I don't know, this might be a little bit controversial, but I have felt myself and talked to plenty of people that say Street Fighter VI is particularly mentally taxing. And I think that's because, well, you can play footsies with someone, they can jump forward, they can do forward moving, horizontal attacks like a Honda headbutt or a Blanca ball. So you got to be ready for all that stuff. But then you also have to be ready for drive rush at any point. And to me, that feels like an extension of footsies that makes it like footsies is a 2/3 of a screen now instead of just when you're near your opponent. And to be engaged like that consistently all the way through is very difficult, especially for certain characters. I'm a JP player, so I'm always worried that someone's going to get through my defenses and give me hell. To play through that in tournament, and maybe you go on stream, but even if you don't, it's Evo. It's the biggest event of the year, arguably speaking, maybe not Capcom Cup. And, it's all on the line, and every time you win, you are playing a progressively better player. And so by the third or fourth win, you're running into Xiaohai and Smug and Tokido and all the likes. So it's going to be a really difficult process. And I was looking at it here, if my math is correct, looking at the tournament brackets, if you stay in winners, it's going to take you 10 wins in a row to break into top 8, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot. You're like, I streak online, get 10 wins in a row. This isn't streaking online. This is you play a couple of people online equivalent, and then you run into pros and they're better and better and better. If you go to losers first round, you've got to win some 19 wins to break into top 8 from there. And again, this is in Street Fighter 6, where it's an incredibly, as far as I'm concerned, grueling and strenuous game. So Nick, what do you think about that? Are the people in top 8 going to show up to the top 8 with their tongues hanging out of their mouths and completely fried and unable to perform, or what's it going to be like?
No, in top 8 you're fine, because that's going to be a different day, right? It's everything before top 8 that's going to be a complete nightmare. Because, like you were saying, I think the core aspect of Street Fighter 6 is that you need to always be on point. Mm-hmm. That's true to some extent in fighting games in general, but there's very little relief in Street Fighter 6. You also don't have a lot of pressure in the same way that you do in other games. You have to be quite active in your pressure. So this time where you can actually kind of relax your brain and flowchart isn't as much there.
No, absolutely not.
In Street Fighter 6. So it's very taxing. I think everyone agrees with that at a high level. And yeah, as you said, like winning all these sets, making it through, and I think it's going to be largely spread across 2 days, because many pools are going to be played on Friday and then a bunch on Saturday, and then everything down to, it's actually top 6 even now. They changed to that for the main stage.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be insane how far you have to go to be able to stay in the running. And as you said, you're progressively fighting harder opponents. And you also need to consider, on top of that, on top of everything we've already lined out, some characters are going to be even more taxing for you to fight, partially because of, them being rough matchups potentially for your character, but also a character like Dalsim, whatever the matchup is, it's annoying, right? That kind of thing is going to be taxing. So imagine you have to run into 4 Dalsims in a row just by chance. That's going to burn all of your
You're going to have
fuel.
no mental drive meter left after something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I played in a grand finals in a local tournament that we had a couple of weeks ago, and grand finals is 3 out of 5 instead of 2 out of 3. Just playing through the first set. It was my JP versus Kyoku's DJ, and we played through the first set, and I was like, man, it's over. Oh wait, it's not over. It's just the first set. No, it's just the first game. It was so much, and it was in a good way, because the game evolves constantly. You feel like, oh no, they've figured something out. They've figured an in out through my zoning, for instance. Oh, but I haven't been using this maneuver. I haven't been using this part of the mechanics, and now I start using this, and it changes everything. And then they adapt and back and forth, and that happens so easily in this game. But being ready for everything all at once, you just can't do. So it's really just staying one step ahead of your opponent. And yes, that's true in all fighting games, but I like the way you said it, that you really can't fall into any reliable autopilots like you could in previous games. I got my start in Street Fighter 4. Not only were there option selects and such, so you could kind of just like dial in things and your character would do the best thing, but you could also just kind of rest on your laurels. Yeah, I'm just gonna just out solid this person, and whatever they do, I'm just gonna be ready for it. It's like, no, in this game, you have to very rapidly download what your opponent's game plan is and be ready for them in the ways that they want to attack you, or in the ways that they're not going to be ready for you to attack them. And the importance of doing that is so huge, because it's not super hard to get a bunch of damage out of in this game. You know, a combo into drive rush into super, just about anyone that's played for a little while can do that sort of a thing. And to the extent that you're able to pull that kind of a thing off, or make that kind of a situation viable for yourself, you can win. And I think anybody, generally speaking, anyone can beat anyone on any given Sunday. And I don't mean that this game is random, but I mean, as soon as you fall off and you're not honed in, it's on you. And so very similar to Street Fighter 5 there, because it felt like anyone could beat anyone, but it felt like it was kind of out of your control to an extent, and we don't have to go into that. This game, that's still there, but it's on you. And so now the onus is on you to stay ahead and to do that consistently at EVO, especially if you don't play a character that is usually getting the party started and you're trying to reactionary whiff punish and then get your stuff going. It's going to be so hard. And I can only imagine how rough it's going to be for like Zangief and Lily players. Like, do they have a chance?
For sure. That's going to be so hard, because for a character like Zangief, who I've played a decent amount, I sub the character. Every matchup is a struggle in some kind of way, right? But some of them, Guile, JP, Dalsim, are complete nightmares, right? So even if you don't run into those, your mental sack is going to be shot by game 6 or 7 somewhere. And then if you actually had to get through those and you actually, beat them, you're still going to be exhausted right after. And I think one more thing that needs to be brought up, since I went to EVO last year for the first time, played in Grand Fantasy Versus mainly, jet lag is absolutely massive. And this is something that most Americans don't have to experience as much when going to these major events, because West Coast to East Coast, it's 3 hours, it's fine, but for me it was 9 hours, and for the Japanese players it's like 16 hours. And they're going for the event. Like, a lot of people don't really have a lot of time to take off. They're coming like maybe the day before the event or something, right? So adjusting to that is also extremely difficult. So imagine you're already in subpar conditions as it is, and then you get thrown into this.
It's all the money that you've spent, all the time that you've spent, whether or not your significant other is down with the fact that you're spending this much time and money to go to Las Vegas for a weekend and play video games with a bunch of people. It can stack up pretty quickly, and it's not just the mental stack of the game. So with that, I do think that this is going to be a more interesting, at least in that avenue, EVO and competitive experience. And I gotta wonder if a few names that would traditionally have made it, and who knows which ones, but like, certain somebody that is always in top 8s just cracks beforehand, and that opens the floodgates up for someone new that hasn't been there before. Things could shake out differently, and I'm going to be especially intrigued at how gameplay performances are towards the end of the tournament, especially on Saturday evening. We'll see, but I'd love to hear what you guys think, if what you're looking forward to most about the competition at EVO, and if you think that Street Fighter 6 is going to be an absolute slog to get through for the competitors, which is exciting for the audience. Hey, thanks for checking out that quick clip from our most recent episode of Talkin' Block leading into EVO 2023. If you want to see a similar one where we discuss which Street Fighter 6 characters we think will perform the best at EVO this year, you can do so right here. And if you want to see our entire discussion, you can do so right here.